Anyway, it's not about that. It's about Anastasia. So, um, yeah, it's how long have we known each other? Probably about 18 months.
Mm, yeah. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a couple of years now. I feel like time goes by so quickly.
Yeah. It was that Roma lunch that I first met you at, and you were telling me
Mm,
your story while we were sat next to each other, and I was like, "This is just the most inspirational story." And I think I'd only been sort of running the UK Homes Network for about 3 or 4 months at that point, and you
yeah.
gave me some incredible advice while I was sat there, and um, it really, really sort of restored my faith because up until that point where I met you, I'd had a couple of bad interactions with people in the industry. And you know, the sort of cliche that you have to be quite narcissistic or quite ruthless in business to get what you want. And the conversation I came away with you, Anastasia, is that you restored my faith in humanity and that you nice people can actually really win in business. And I see you posting on LinkedIn, and yeah, unfortunately, it's been too long to get you on the webinar. So I'm really grateful that you've joined us tonight. But before we get going, and I really delve into your experience, how are you doing? How's your week been? And
Yeah.
are you already counting down to the weekend?
So you know what? I was speaking to somebody earlier and I thought it was Thursday. I actually have to confess, I never know what day it is really. I just because well, I think when you're an entrepreneur sometimes you just everything kind of rolls in together. So and part of like my scaling of the businesses was so that we had or I had time freedom. That's my biggest why. So if I want to do what I would do on a Saturday, on a Tuesday, then I just will. And so the businesses have been scaled in a way that they've created that time of freedom. So it's something I love talking about as well. Like, how are we doing that in our businesses, whether that's a property business, whether it's a brokerage, whether it's a law firm, whether it's a surveyor company, whatever it is that part. Um, so yeah, my day's been good. Been doing stuff for the festival event, which we'll get onto, I'm sure, at some point. Um, yeah, and I don't know what day it is. So that's me.
It's funny you said it, you thought it was Thursday. I also keep thinking it's Thursday. Maybe it's something in the air, but yeah, it's the days are going quick. Particularly like we're both in the same situation that we've got an event coming up, and there doesn't seem to be enough hours in the day to prepare for it. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll take it right back to the beginning so that obviously our members haven't necessarily might have come across you on other sort of social media platforms and might have seen ILA and sort of the meteoric rise that you guys have had over the last couple of years. But just for those members that might not necessarily be aware of your story, how did you get started? Take us right back to the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah. So I, by trade, I put in inverted commas because there's many things that you do as a business owner rather than just what you're pigeonholed into what your role was to begin with. But my beginning was that I was a solicitor. I am a solicitor. And I specialized in property finance litigation. So especially I would act for like developers and investors against the bank. So I've never acted for banks. I've acted for the developers and investors. Um, and doing like misconduct. So a lot of it was like suing the bank for like fraud, conspiracy. The crazy shit they do is unreal. And maybe not so much now. Maybe it's, sometimes it cleans itself up, but you're looking at like like the big crashes like the Lehman Brothers, missold of swap collars caps. There was a big period of time where there was a lot of bad things happening in the market to developers. So that's where my background started. And I think a few people are commenting on things saying they've met me before. And if you've met me in person, I mean, even from this call, you might get the impression I'm not very lawyery. And so I spent some time in the legal industry. Um, and as I kind of worked my way up and I qualified, and you started a career in one direction to be like, this is what I want. And as I qualified, I was like, is this it? Like, it doesn't feel right, just every day being in this office. Not that again, it's a criticism if that's what you do, but it felt very restrictive in the legal industry in terms of who you could be or couldn't be and what personality you could or couldn't have. Um, and so when that started coming about for me, that's when I made the decisions to start my own business, which I can go into if you want me to.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you touched on something there, and you shared with me that you when we first met. that you were basically working in an industry that was quite stale and that was quite rigid. And you were sort of, is it fair to say that you were judged on your appearance and you were sort of treated a bit differently in the office
Mm.
because you didn't fit the sort of conventional look of a solicitor?
Yeah, so I mean, then I was a bit more, a bit more. I was going to say manageable, but I hate that word because humans aren't here to be manageable. We're here to be wild and free. But I was less. I'm covered in tattoos now, and I was less like that. But you had to kind of keep that a little bit under wraps. Um, but yes, you're right. So I had an idea at the time. I must have been what 25, 26, and I'd gone through some like hypnotherapy work. It had a really big impact in my life in terms of the inner work that I also love to do as business owners. I think is a huge part. We look at strategy, but we're not looking at inner strategy or inner system. We are a system in our business. And I was doing hypnotherapy work, and I said to the partner at the law firm I was at the time, I was like, I've got an idea. It's where the entrepreneurial part comes into it. I'm going to start running retreats, and these retreats are going to be for like busy professionals, like accountants, lawyers, surveyors. Um, just bringing it to him because you have to get permission to have another job, so to speak. And he sat me down. And he goes, Anastasia, it just sounds like another business development thing, like a networking thing, and you're really good at business development, so we don't need more of that. And I was like, it's not business development at all. It's like people's well-being we're talking about here. And he goes to me, nah, Anastasia, you're just a bit of a square peg in a round hole. So that's kind of something that stuck with me, as you can imagine, a square peg in a round hole and being blatantly told I don't fit in. Um, and with that, I think the next day I handed my notice in. I was just like, you know, fuck this. I'm not doing this. This is not. What do you mean I'm a square peg in a round hole? And so I think I've always had that part in me to be like, no, this isn't aligned to me, or it's not what I want to do. So off the back of that, I handed my notice in and I became a consultant solicitor, which at the age of like 26, 27 is like unheard of. Consultants are usually much older with a big client following. I was newly qualified. So I was newly qualified. I was like 26 years old, and then I started as a consultant before we started the law firm, which again I can go into unless you've got anything else there that you thought was interesting to touch on.
Yeah, 100%. So what's that like? You've handed in your notice.
Yeah.
He's given you what I would take. Well, when an employer says that to you, that's an insult. But actually, now probably you wear that as a badge of honor. You hand in your notice the next day. How are you feeling inside in terms of right now? I'm going to go out and do it for myself. Like that must be slightly intimidating, or would you say you were sort of filled with um, sort of negative energy in terms of sort of pissed off with him in terms of him saying that?
Yeah, do you know what? I just didn't. If I was thinking, I was looking away then to try and like cast my mind back. Like, how did I feel? I don't remember being scared. I don't remember that. I just remember being like fired by this desire of being like, you're wrong. I've got a very strong sense of like moral justice and like integrity. And when things don't sit right with me, that often propels me into action.
Mm,
And so, yeah, I think like to answer that question, I wasn't like, oh my God, what am I going to do? My mum was like, you can't tell your dad because you've just spent all your life to create this career. You've got an amazing job at like a city firm and you've just handed your notice in and what are you going to do? And I was like, don't you worry. And I think a lot of the don't you worry also at the time came from because I was doing a lot of inner work too. So if anyone's kind of like, oh, what do you mean you weren't worried? A lot of the deeper inner work that helps us align to like, no, I know I've got this. That was kicking in at that point as well. So yeah, I just found a job at a law firm as a consultant. And when you're a consultant, you've got to bring in your own money. You kind of say you eat what you kill.
mm.
People were like, were you worried about that? No, just market yourself. That I'm not worried about making money or about how I'm going to bring in the work because where there's a will, there's a way. And the way is usually just, yeah, through marketing, through getting yourself out there, through turning up.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for that. Funnily enough, I actually did hypnotherapy about a year before I started my business, so maybe there's
Mm,
something
yeah.
in that. Um, But when you're starting, so you've left that job, are you literally you're newly qualified? So are you starting with a completely blank slate then? You've got no clients in terms of sort of existing relationships there. You're literally starting from square one.
Mm. Yeah, so no one, I had no clients that would follow me. I'm a junior solicitor in effect. And so I went to this firm as a consultant. And to be fair, they were like a hybrid firm where like if they gave you work like that came through their website, they took a bigger cut. So when you're a consultant, you get a cut of your work rather than a billable. Yeah, I don't get a salary. Okay, yeah, you get what you if I charge £1,000, I might have got £700. Whereas, or £500, say, if they brought in the work. Whereas if I brought in the work, I might have got £700. Whereas I loved that. I got my spreadsheet out. I already started looking at like campaigns to run. When I was a junior lawyer, I was spotting, I mentioned that um about us doing like misconduct and conspiracy claims against banks. I was constantly looking at the news, being like, that's going to be a scandal. We need to get out. We need to market this scandal. And I'd foresee a scandal before it happened or before it had become big, because as a lot of you probably know, something will happen in the news and there'll be a claims that follow off the back of it. You've seen that maybe with like PCP cars, for example.
Yeah.
They'll be and then that follows, the lawyers follow on the back of it. Um, so I think if you've kind of got that in you, you've got that in you. Whereas a lot of people here who they've got their own businesses, their own property portfolios, you're going to have that thing in you that's like, yeah, do you know what? I'll find a way and make this work.
So marketing is just as important to you in terms of getting the brand out there and actually marketing yourself and your personal brand, as well as doing the work, because you're
Mm,
essentially trying to keep tomorrow stable.
yeah.
Um, so you're focusing on trending news. What else were you doing in that period to try and get out there? Were you doing much networking and
Hmm.
sort of traveling around the
Yeah.
country?
Yeah. It's a huge amount of networking. So I think I mentioned at the start, like I do less of in person now, but that's because we're 4 years in. But it's still very important. And again, I'll get on to the fact that I'm running my own events now, which is huge. But yeah, to start with, I was everywhere, every single event, every single thing I'd go to, emailing people, following up with people, LinkedIn blogs, articles. So positioning yourself as a thought leader, but also personality is so important. We see many, many, again, I'm just using lawyers as an example, but you see technically brilliant lawyers, but they're awful at marketing themselves. So it doesn't actually matter. You could be the best person in the world, but if no one knows you exist, it's irrelevant. So like the sometimes actually you see people who aren't as talented in terms of their technical ability, but they get more business because they are very good at marketing themselves.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of that is also just showing people your humanness. I think that's a personal brand that mine's built on, and I think that applies across the board. Um, so at that time I was a consultant, but then so when we looked at starting iLA, the law firm that I own, I didn't own it at the time, obviously. Um, when we looked at starting that, that was a huge, huge risk, huge risk. I think I've mentioned to you before, but independent legal advice for most of you on this call who may know this already, is a specialist type of advice that's needed in the property finance industry when you're getting like a personal guarantee, or you might be entering into a legal charge, and the bank will say, I need you to go and get ILA, independent legal advice. And I was hearing day in, day out, people calling me like, I've called 100 law firms and I can't get this ILA done anywhere. Can you do it? And I'm like, well, of course I can do it. It's my bread and butter. Like, I work on high profile banking misconduct claims. Of course I can advise you on a PG. It's no problem. And I was like, this ain't right. Something's not right here. And I was working at the time also at a brokerage as a consultant, helping their marketing and their business development strategy. And they were struggling to complete on deals because of ILA, the need for ILA. And so it's spotting the opportunity. So in that, I was like, there's a problem here. We need to fix this. So my experience with running a few businesses isn't that you're completely reinventing the wheel. You're finding something that's done badly and making it better. Look at you guys. You're like, do you know what? LinkedIn exists. Cool. Yeah, Facebook exists. Cool. But it's not good enough for the property finance industry. So I'm going to remake it. You haven't made something brand new in terms of networking, but you are finding something that's like, no, that's no good. And I'm going to change it. So ILAs exist, right? But they didn't exist in the way we did it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we went on to start that. And people were laughing at me. I was 28 at that point, 27, 28. And people were like, you can never make a law firm that just does independent legal advice. It's a stupid idea. It won't work. But I did it anyway. So yeah, and obviously we'll get on to like where it's scaled to and what it's at now as well.
Yeah, that's a really important point. A good friend of mine actually recently said to me that you get three types of entrepreneurs. You get copy and paste, you get copy, edit, paste, and then you get someone that basically takes something from scratch that no one's ever thought of. But those people are extremely rare, and it's
Yeah.
the ones that copy, edit, paste make the most money, um,
Mm,
because they're taking something that already exists, making it better, and then putting it out there to the world. So that
mm,
sounds exactly what you've done. So just to be absolutely clear, because I've got a little bit of knowledge about this, but not I wouldn't say I'm that experienced. The independent legal advice, let's say you're applying for a bridging loan, when that gets to the stage where it's a little bit more materialized, I'm under the understanding that the lender then has a solicitor, and then you get another solicitor on top of that that can basically deal with the process of the loan itself. Is that independent legal advice?
mm-mm.
No.
No, so well, you've got the key parts in there. So you've
Yeah.
got the lender, and then you've got the bridging facility, which the lender will have a solicitor, and then the client will need a solicitor, unless it's dual rep, but that's rarely done now as much. Dual rep means the lender solicitor acts for both the lender and the buyer or the
Mm.
borrower, but that's not done as much anymore. So you have the lender's solicitor, and then you have the borrower's solicitor, and then something called iLA is sometimes needed. So the borrower might be UK Homes Network. They're borrowing £100,000, but you, Chris, are required to give a personal guarantee on behalf of UK Homes Network, but you're doing it as your own individual self, a person, and you're promising if UK Homes Network doesn't pay, that you'll pay.
Yeah.
Now, your interests are technically different to UK Home Network. Although you own it, what's best for UK Homes Network is to get all that money. What's best for Chris is to protect his house and protect his assets,
Yeah.
right? So technically, under a legal perspective, you have different interests. So this is where you need to go and find an independent lawyer. I only say that in inverted kind of finger comma thingies because it's like independent legal advice.
Yeah.
To then go and get an independent lawyer who's going to advise you on that. And they need to be independent. They can't be the solicitor who acts on the main transaction because they act for UK Home Network. So you come to me, iLA, the UK's only law firm that just specialises in independent legal advice. And we step in and we say, hey, Chris, this is the PG and this is what's going to happen. Are you aware of all these risks? Do you want to go ahead? And we sign a bit of paper and off you go. Now, the reason why lawyers weren't doing these before was because they were seen as really high risk and low reward. Essentially, we're stepping into a transaction that we know nothing about the wider background, but we could be advising you that you're giving a personal guarantee on a £1 million bridging facility. Now, if that all really goes tits up later on down the line, you're going to try and point your finger at us. And so a lot of lawyers were like, it's not worth it. For 250 quid, it's not worth it. We're not going to bother doing it. It's not worth
Mm.
our time. And or they'd be going like, yeah, we will do it, but we'll charge 5 grand, which is obscene for something that takes 30 minutes, right? So I was like, we can do this if we do it en masse. You'd have to do it in mass volume, like mass volume. And you'd need tech, you need AI, you need systems that are constantly talking to each other so that you remove loads of the admin to make it cost effective. I think I told you before, within our first year, it was turning over 360,000. By the second year, it was turning over 1.26 million, and it's continued to turn over millions every year. And I believe we're generally just getting started still. I think we're still got a huge pool of the world to access. So kind of that's your kind of quick story on don't listen to people, because if I'd listened to everybody who was like, you can't make a profitable business doing just ILAs, these solicitors were like, it won't work. It's too like they waste our time. They're these yucky things that we don't care about. They're slow, they're clunky, we can't be asked. And I was like, no, but if you do them fast and you use tech, the mass volume of it is huge.
Mm.
I didn't even really know. I just kind of put my finger in the air and was like, I've got a feeling about this, and that my feeling was right. And within, yeah, by the second year, it was turning over 1.26 million. So
What a journey. Have you seen those people that shot you down since starting ILA?
Do you know what? I think it's the quiet undertones. Then yeah, I had like a law firm that I used to work at years and years ago. And when we launched it, they said, because I said to you, we give you advice on the personal guarantee, and then we sign a certificate that says that we've given you the advice. And that certificate is like fundamental to the transaction. And somebody was like, they're not even real lawyers. People just pay for their signature. And my business partner's more bothered by what things people might say. He was like, oh, like, but we are. And I was like, I couldn't give a shit if they don't think I'm a real solicitor, because number one, only a solicitor can sign that document. And number two, if it's making me millions, why do I care? You can carry on being stressed and angry all the time, working 50-hour days, whilst we're over here systemizing, productizing, and scaling to create freedom and wealth. I don't I don't know who's winning here, but it doesn't sound like it's you. So it's kind of that mentality where, yeah, you just got to laugh it off, I think. Because if you know you're right and you're onto something, who will be laughing in the end?
Yeah. And it's so important. They always say that, look, at the end of the day, it's not about the founder at the end of the day with any business when you're looking to exit. It's about the
Mm.
systems and processes that you put in place and the infrastructure. And I speak to people every single day that are looking to implement AI into their businesses, but they don't really know the capabilities or they don't know what it should be doing and what it shouldn't. Could you share a bit about how you've learned, to navigate AI and
Mm.
bring it in productively to your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually did a three series. Amongst owning a law firm, I'm also a business mentor. So I coach business owners, particularly like people in the property finance industry, a lot of brokers, particularly as well, on how to scale their businesses. And I actually did a three series training series, a 3 month training series, where each month we targeted a part of this AI structure. And actually, month one is knowing your systems. So, or your processes, sorry. So people are talking about AI, but it means jack shit if you don't know and understand your processes. So month one or stage one that I did in this 3 month course is, do you know your processes? So your processes are things like, when a client books, how do they book with you? If it's like, well, they inbox me and then maybe I'll pick it up on my emails, but maybe I'll WhatsApp. This isn't a replicatable system. This is a mess. Or it's not a process, sorry. So your processes first. So you need to know your processes and have them step by step, as what is my booking process when someone books in with me? What is my accounting process when I need to raise an invoice? If these processes have like breaks in them all over the place, then if you bring in AI, it's going to make more of a mess, because there isn't AI can only work off of a system and a process. It can't work off of mess. That's humans only can work off of mess. And as we're going through that process that I went through with these business owners, you also find like the bottlenecks. So as you're going through your processes, if you are a bottleneck, cross, 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 then again, you can't systemize that because you're in the way. So you need to get yourself out of it and then systemize it. So systems might be things like an online booking platform. That's not AI, that's an online booking platform. So iLA has that, for example. So the process, someone goes on the website, someone books an appointment using our online booking platform. That then automates an email through to the team, which automates a booking email that goes out and tells the clients what we need. And then that automates the next step, right? But when we first write out your process, if you don't know what the step by step is in order to achieve money in bank, then you can't automate any of this. And you definitely can't bring in AI. So say if my process was that I was the responsible for the booking, I put a big circle around that. And then we bring in a system, which is a booking platform. And once you've got that running, then you start layering in AI. So this is really important for that understanding. I think that people are trying to implement AI too soon. If you're wanting to do that, start with writing down and going through all your processes in your business. Identify where you are as a bottleneck, and then bring in systems so that if I'm not here, does my business make money if I'm on a beach or if I'm ill? Does it make money? If people, for me, people can book in an iLA appointment all day long. I don't have to do anything. They can book it in at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's booking, it's working. Um, so yeah, I think that was one of the main things I did, but I just always worked like that. My brain just worked like that. And then all the processes are written down in Google Drives everywhere. So there's Google Docs everywhere with all our processes in it. So God forbid something happened to me tomorrow, the business survives without me. It has an infrastructure without me. And that's how you create space and scale. And that's how you bring in AI.
Yeah, that's I'm literally as you're talking, I'm thinking about every process that's in our business and thinking that's not a process, that's not a system, that's you know, that's me responding to lead
Mm,
generation as opposed to I can't be sat on a beach while that's
yeah.
happening because I have to respond to it. And it's so interesting because David recently did a course on AI, my brother and other co-founder, and he's started a document repository on a Google Drive, and we're one by one trying to go through each process and get it in there. So it sounds like we're like right at the early steps of this, but once we've got that, then we can then look at what those processes are and how we can automate them, which is so fascinating.
Yeah. And also things like, say, if like when you're looking at your process or you're looking at your process and it's like, okay, what's the client booking process in order to make money? So like they book an appointment and this is how I make money off that. If it's like, well, okay, they come in from Instagram, LinkedIn, email, website, then there needs to be automations around those things that push everybody to one funnel. And then that funnel kicks in this automation. Do you see what I mean? Otherwise, the
Mm.
founders just spinning around in circles. Like, I need to go on Instagram. I'm trying to be on holiday, but my phone's ringing. And none of it is funneling in the right direction to create an automation. And if you haven't got a system, if you haven't got a process and you haven't got a system, then I wouldn't even bother looking at AI personally. So for us, we now use AI for like we have an AI agent that answers the phone. But for years until now, we had a process and a system on the phone answering that outsourced to other tools. And in doing that, it was costing us like what, like 4 grand a month or 2 grand a month, sorry, because we were using external phone answering people when our team couldn't answer. So if you're scaling, you need to use that outsource. Um, and we're like, okay, well, now we can start using AI. 4 years in, we'll start using more AI to save money because our systems and our processes are so robust that we can now cut out bits and use AI. Um, we have an AI consultant that works with us. He's called Max, and his company's Max Faction, and he does it for numerous companies in the property finance industry, surveyors, solicitors. Um, he's got a few brokers on board, and he's now, if they've got systems and processes, he'll lay it in with AI. So that's the type of thing that you can start looking at, like custom agents, custom. He's building crazy stuff right now where like they work this bot thing he's got called Faith, and it works whilst the founders are sleeping. It's nuts, right? It's crazy. But in order for Faith, which his agent is called, to work whilst the founders are sleeping, the founders need to have systems written down everywhere so the AI agent can read the systems. You see what I mean? So you need all this in the background first.
Is this a bit like that? Is it Claude or the extension that you can buy to your Mac and it basically becomes a whole employee, like it's like 10 agents all working in the background?
Yeah, so I think he's got a custom one that's like, and he like develops it using, I think it is using those type of things. Yeah, it could be using that as well. And yeah, and it feeds in so much data from the business, and it's like crazy code and stuff in the background. I don't know how they do that. It's wild to me. But to be honest, we weren't using AI. We were using automation. So we were
Mm.
using systems and automation built on our processes. So an automation might be like Cozy Cow booking platform. We use that. Calendly. It might be emails that automatically ping to a different system. It might be a banking software that triggers an auto flow that goes through and releases invoices and make sure payments come in. So I would caution people on trying to jump on the AI buzz. If you haven't got systems and you haven't got automation, then AI is just going to make more of a mess.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that because um, I've followed you on social media since I met you, and you have an incredible personal brand, and
Mm.
you're so open and honest. I've actually sort of sent you a couple of messages, especially the one that you talked about not having enough fuel to go to a meeting in the
Mm.
first couple of months, and I said I'm literally going through that right now. Um, and that really really struck me, and I guess that's why you've grown, you've another element of your business that has grown is because of how approachable and authentic you are online. But I wondered, how do you balance that personal brand with authenticity and the human element that you relay outwardly, but then bringing in those automations and effectively AI into your business? You know, because that can put a lot of people off, can't it, in terms
Yeah.
of how cyber or robotic some of these systems can feel.
Yeah, really good question. I think because I'm freeing my team up to do human shit, right? So the bot or the automation picks up stuff that doesn't need a human. So we only actually employ 3 members of staff. For a million plus company, our profit margins are like 50, 60% because I don't hire that many staff because I don't need to. Because, and this is another thing we look at automation and AI and we look at scaling businesses, you could have someone who turns over £1 million in their business a year, but their outgoings are 999,000. So they make a pound. It doesn't matter. That's just people just, you see it a lot on Instagram. It's all just kind of beating chest and saying, I own £1 million portfolio or I own £1 million company, but the outgoings are so high. So also part of the aim is to keep our outgoings low or our overheads low and our income high. So one way of doing that is by removing admin heavy tasks that don't need a human. So my team are then focused on being really, really human on the phone. We've got an agent that answers a bot that answers if my team are all on calls. So that stops people being the client feels happy that they're being attended to.
Mm.
It's that perception. It's the touch points for the client of being like, oh, it's being dealt with. Someone's dealing with it. I can book in instantly online. Amazing, so helpful. It's getting in the head of the person who just wants a touch point. Um, if I don't reply, so there's a lot of founders will be like, I'm not going to use AI and automation because my clients want to speak to me. Is that when they want to speak to you when you haven't replied for 12 hours because you're having a nervous breakdown because you're trying to run 20 other things? Get out of your own way. So actually what the client wants in that, so I have automated replies on a lot of things that say, hey, thank you so much for your message. If you're looking for an ILA appointment right away, please head to my website and book online straight away. I'm directing people using automation and in other ways AI to get the answer they want very quickly. Meanwhile, I can then use my time to be like, hey, client, I saw you booked in with us last week. Amazing. Thank you so much. Like I might circle back round and speak to people like you, use my human touch for really building relationships, but using AI and automation to remove admin, which wears everybody down, waste of time, waste of money, but also as a founder, particularly if there's a lot of solopreneurs here, is to get out of your way in terms of directing the clients quickly to what they need by using AI and automation. Um, and then I have time, guess what, to turn up online and share loads and be present and help people and communicate with people and reply to messages that are personal to me because other shit's being dealt with elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's that Rory Sutherland quote of clients don't mind waiting for a high quality product. It's the progress that they want to see. So if you've
Yeah,
got that AI stepping in or that automation stepping in, showing that progress has been made between the time that they're waiting to the time that
yeah.
they get their call answered, then they're going to feel completely satisfied throughout the process. Whereas if they're waiting a week to get a call back, but they don't know anything's happening between that process, then that's when they start to get frustrated.
Spot on. So when someone books in, there's an automated email that goes out that says, hey, thanks so much for your booking. We need the following documents from you. So the client's like, oh, I can go in and do something. So the client's gone away, got their documents, they're sending them over. In the meantime, my team are doing other stuff. And that I think is really, really important that I hear so often people being like, yeah, but my clients want me. And I'm like, listen, like, that's exactly what I'm giving them. So when I'm coaching business owners, I'm like, yeah, but can you imagine if you weren't doing this mundane shit over here that's not relevant really to the client experience, how much more time you could spend doing stuff that makes it feel like an A-star service? Like one of the things we do after every single ILA appointment, bearing in mind we do thousands a month, an automated email goes out to a client that looks like it's from me. It says, hey, it's Anastasia, the CEO and co-founder of iLA. We recently did your ILA. Thank you so much for choosing us. It means the world. If you could leave us a review, that'd be amazing.
Mm.
So I'm using AI or automation to make my character reach further. So it makes people feel like they're special. Between us and everybody on this call, look, they're getting an automated email, but they don't know it's automated. It doesn't look automated. So I'm able to extend my reach. And of course I do care. And of course I do mean that. But I can't personally sit every day messaging 1,000 people, right? So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, using it in that way for sure.
Yeah, we've implemented platforms like Dripify, which have been game changing for us in terms of that they're basically sending out automated LinkedIn personalized messages, but they're not the sort of traditional, sort of crap that you get in your spam. They're actually
Mm,
taking all the information, and then I create the campaigns and the actual content that's going out, and it's so segmented that there's no way that anyone can feel offended that they've received an AI
mm,
message. So yeah, it's dead interesting just hearing about how you've managed to sort of successfully bring that into your business. In terms of the future for iLA, what have you guys got lined up? Because you've got some ambitious plans, haven't you?
mm. Yeah. So as we kept scaling and growing, um, also big part of me is also it being aligned to my life and how I want to live, right? So as we scaling and growing, a lot of our marketing shifted and changed so that I didn't need to be at 100 events every week, right? Because I think there's also a bit of a shelf life to that kind of experience where we're constantly on the go. We definitely need that to get a business off the ground. But I think longevity, it's like, what did I want for my life? And so we recently launched a podcast. So part of that was that once a month, or no, every other month, sorry, I bring in six of our industry partners. Someone like you, Chris, would come on and you talk about an expert topic. Um, it's not story led, it's educational led. And so we then send that to our database, which has got about 10,000 people in property and finance on it. So we're now touch pointing our clients and our connections constantly. So obviously our database is huge because we've done tens of thousands of ILAs. Um, and so part of this was like, okay, well, how do we keep scaling with minimal output from me? Because I head up our business development. So my business partner heads up the office in terms of actually making sure the team do the work. I head up how are we scaling, how are we growing. So we have a podcast that's going out to 10,000 people with all our industry experts, bringing in our partners. That keeps us at the forefront of their mind too. Our partners is very important. If you're not going to go to events as much, how are you staying relevant? Because if you fall off the edge of a cliff, no one's going to want to remember who you are. So
Mm.
things like that. Um, as you know, we have Finance Fest. Finance Fest is a festival that I've created or we've created for the property finance industry. It's the first of its kind. Um, because we had this huge database, because I'm not going to as many events, because we want to keep scaling, and because I adore music festivals. I love music festivals and I hate how boring many things are in the industry. Obviously, your event sounds definitely not boring. That sounds epic. And a similar reason I imagine for you, which was, I need to change this. It's boring going into a room with a name badge and go to the coffee station and have a croissant, and it's just so boring. And also, it's not, I don't believe, conducive to creative relationships. If you look how we met once, but we had an
Mm.
instant connection because we were in a fun environment, an unusual environment. If I'd spoken to you in a networking space and you're kind of walking past people and kind of, bumbling around, I just don't know how much that would have happened because it's hard to have that connection in that way, I think. Um, so yeah, we've created Finance Fest, which on the 14th of May, combining music, live bands, DJs, live talks, podcasts, comedians. Wow, it's insane. Huge amount of production has gone into it. Um, Again, to keep continuing and marketing iLA, because as a law firm, by the way, it's not that interesting. You try and market something that's not that interesting. So if you're sat there thinking, how do I market my business? It's not that interesting. Try owning a law firm and then try also owning a law firm that just does iLA. There's only so much you can talk about personal guarantee, right? So it's that finding the outside of the box things, finding the things that are being done badly and do it better, finding things that people in the industry want and need. So even if your business doesn't have that, is there something ancillary that you can bring in? So yeah, we've been doing that. Um, Continuing expansion plans, hopefully abroad. We want to keep growing it abroad. But whilst also always kind of being aligned to my mission, which is just having more time, more freedom, whilst also scaling these businesses.
So what do you do apart from music festivals in your spare time? Where is sort of like the heart
Yeah.
lies when you're outside of work?
Yeah. So spend a lot of time on the beach. like a horse riding every week, a horse riding, adore doing that. Anything that's kind of a bit like, nature and kind of the wild elements I love. So I got a camper van, so I'll often be out in the camper van. I really found throughout this journey for me of scaling this business, and to be honest, making more money than I ever could have dreamed of, my realization was, and it's honestly, it's really cliche, and it makes me want to kind of throw up a little bit when you say happiness is in the inside. You hear it all the time, you hear it so often, and there is a slight bit of a slight bit of if you are struggling to pay bills, then no, of course you can try and have this happiness in the inside, but there's a fundamental need to pay bills and survive. I get that, right?
Mm.
But actually, if we think it's because when you're earning millions or hundreds of thousands that that's the answer, I don't believe it is. Having experienced that myself, and actually, my happiness comes from going out in my camper van and making like some like really simple. We'll be at the beach, my partner will be fishing, and I'm making some like, I say rubbish pasta, but like pasta with some sauce. There's nothing fancy, just on a cooker in the camper van. And that's brought me more joy than any of the tens and tens of thousands that I've earned. And well, let's do that and let's go and do this really fancy thing. And it just doesn't, it's not the, I don't think it's the answer from my personal experience of having done that. So yeah, finding happiness in these things that are really available, from just from nature, from being outdoors. So that's where you usually find me.
Well, I really want to dissect the festival, but before we do, in terms of everything you've talked about automation and the lifestyle that you love to lead, is there a possibility that iLA could become a full digital nomad business?
Is in we not have, because obviously we've got an office, right? We've got an office in Paul. Is in I could then travel anywhere in the world. So I mean, I
Mm.
can. So I can currently. I obviously only do, I say only, it's a huge part, but I do the strategy and the business development. So I don't need to be in the office. So for me, I can be anywhere in the world. But this is the irony, is that like sometimes if you find like peace at home and where you live, like sometimes also that's you don't need to necessarily travel everywhere. But also love that, I love traveling new places. We go on holiday quite a bit, but yeah, generally I live in the rural Dorset countryside. And yeah, I find a lot of joy from just like going down to the beach and spending time in the camper van and things that I thought, yeah, that actually it would have been the fancy holidays or the traveling around the world, but actually just the freedom, the choice. I think choice is the word that I feel like the in terms of digital nomad, I think people are seeking choice. So can I work abroad? Can I work from my living room? Can I work in a cafe? And I think when we start having that choice, that's the real kind of freedom, really.
Yeah, no, no, that's such an important point. And yeah, Dorset sounds lovely, but you've clearly never taken your camper van to Coventry because you'd never want to leave. So yeah, in terms of the festival, give me a full rundown because everyone's talking about it at the minute. And I'll be honest, I thought I had my work cut out for me with our live event at the end of the month. But what you've got planned is nothing short of Glasto for every property professional in the country.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been huge, but again, I think similar to like the iLA story, I don't think I realized how huge it was. People are like, "You're crazy. This is humongous." I think when I spoke to you, you were like, "Wow," and I was like, "Maybe it is quite big, you know." And I think I shared you before, Chris. Actually, when we launched iLA, we had no clients. I don't think we had a domain. Oh no, sorry, I'm going to get onto the domain name part. We didn't have a domain name. I think I shared this with you. We had no clients, no CRMs, no systems. We wanted to get a domain name, www.ila.co.uk, and it cost $27,500. So we bought it, right? And people are like, "You're insane. What do you mean you bought it? Like, how, why did you do that?" We had no savings, as in I didn't have savings. My business partner had some. I was in a lot of debt when I started my business. So again, if you're like, "Oh, that's easy having money," didn't have that. We had to work our second jobs and pump money into it to do this. Now, Finance Fest come from a similar kind of feeling where I was like, let's just do it. That feeling of people like, that was crazy buying that domain name for a business that you didn't know was going to work, right? And what were you doing spending that sort of money? And it's like Finance Fest is again a similar thing. If you're going to do it, kind of go in and do it. And I didn't know it was going to work for sure. I just had a hunch that the finance industry wanted something different. And so when we looked to start this, yeah, I just went in really big with it. We brought in DJ Jaguar Skills. Some of you might know Jaguar Skills. He's an epic
Yeah.
DJ. So good. If you see him live, he's insane. Sweet Female Attitude, which is Garage Icons. Flowers. I'll bring you flowers
Yeah,
before
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're coming. They're sick. We have bands and live bands, two live bands. So I really love like punk rock as well. So there'll be punk rock. So I love like drum and bass, which is why you got Jaguar Skills and you got like garage and you got punk rock. Then we have for what we call Finance Fest introducing DJs, and they're people from the industry. So like Shane Trainer, a lot of you know,
Yeah, big
he's
up Shane.
DJing. Yeah, it's a big up Shane. So we're doing that also to support the industry and highlight the talent in the industry. And then on top of all the bands and the DJs, we've got a live podcast with a guy called Kazi. Some of you might know Kazi. He runs the Property by Kazi podcast, and he's live interviewing Victoria Tsoy, incredible developer. Then we have some of the property elevators on our show on there. We've got Nick, John, and Scott. Um, a live comedian. She was an ex KPMG partner. KPMG obviously is massive. And then she became a comedian, but she's like got her hair in dreads. She's like really cool looking. It's really cool to see her transformation out of that, as well as things like stilt walkers, pygmy goats. I mean, I think goats are really cool. So there's got some pygmy
Yeah,
goats there. Um, and again, I always share very openly about this kind of stuff. It's cost us what, like 50 grand? And people are like, "You're nuts. Like, what do you mean?" So that's why I linked it to the iLA story at the start. And I'm just like, am I? Am I nuts? Or do I just believe in myself? Like what, what if we're not going to do it, we're not going to back ourselves in that way. What's the point? I'm not saying you have to take such huge financial risks. I mean, not everyone obviously wants to, and that's completely fine. But for other people saying you're crazy, why are you doing that? Well, that's huge. If you don't think it is, then just do it. And even if you do think it is, sometimes that's where the best things pay off, right? Like if this continues to pay off, I genuinely believe it could be, like you said, it's Glastonbury, but for the property finance industry. Um, yeah, there's glitter painting, there's tarot cards readings, there's teepees everywhere. There's loads of stuff going on. And yeah, when I started it, I just didn't think to start it small. Same way I didn't think to start iLA small. So if you're gonna do something and you really believe in it, just go for it.
the ambition is key. Yeah, 100%. Um, before we find out where we can get more details about Finance Fest and we can get tickets for it, guys, if you've got any questions, whether it's relating to ILA, whether it's relating to automation, anything we spoke about tonight that you've got for Anastasia, please do put it in the chat. We'll
Mm.
get round to 5, 10 minutes just doing some questions if you've got time, Anastasia. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
So, yeah, in terms of the festival, where can people get tickets? What's the best route? Where can they get all the
Mm.
information?
Yeah, well, lucky for all of you, we got good timing here. Thanks, Chris, for helping with this timing. We've got a flash sale on at the moment, and the flash sale was to mark the 5 week countdown, and the flash sale ends tomorrow evening. Currently 50% discount on tickets using the code FLASH50, making them only £99 plus VAT, which is insanity. I think I've also lost my mind for that. £99 plus VAT. The festival is an all-day festival from 12 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And you can get tickets and you can see all about the lineup. It's all on there. You can see all the lineup that I've mentioned at www.financefest.co.uk. So £99 plus VAT. Flash sale is flash 50 until tomorrow only. So run, don't walk.
Love that. And you've had two tickets released already and two ticket releases, and they both sold out really, really
Yeah,
quick, haven't they?
early bird sold out, which is again is insane. Like I just, yeah, when you do these things and that happens, it's like we were talking about Chris earlier. There's a huge amount of stress and worry and pressure that goes into building these things. So when people are backing it and turning up and supporting it and going like yes to that, it means the world to us. So early bird sold out. We're now on standard, and so we've got a flash sale going. Yeah, and the last few days the ticket sales have really, really ramped up. So I'm really happy with that. Really, really good. And yeah, I know this is going to continue to get bigger and bigger. If we're already at this level for year one, again, from a business perspective, just sharing this, from a promotional perspective, I've only got like, posters and a few videos. We've got no promotional material. So this year, obviously, there'll be videographers there, have huge promotional material next year. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's going to be so good. And I'm really excited. Amongst some of the, as we were talking about, the stresses that come from launching events and trying to grow them and manage an event this size, it's huge, huge. Um, you know, what I only learned a few weeks ago what a green room was. Someone was like, "Do you need a green room?" And I was like, "What is that, like a medical tent if someone gets sick?" And they're like, "No, no, green rooms, like Jaguar Skills is famous, like, and so they need green rooms." I was like, "What do they do there?" And apparently they need rooms to hang out in. So like all these little things that you just don't know. But as you're scaling these things, you learn. So you just learn as you go. Like someone asked what a tech rider was. I thought a tech rider was a person. A tech rider is what they need, like at the event, like, but we've got professional tech people who are dealing with all that again, like crazy sound systems and lights. Um, but yeah, if you don't know how to do something, also just learn. Like, just go for it and learn. Learn fast too.
Yeah, and it's not, it's like people will support you to help you find that information out
Yeah.
while you're doing it. So yeah, so like we've got a sound engineer and a lighting engineer for our next event. We've never had one before, but I'm so pleased that they're there because it's the first time we're doing live panel discussions, and there is no chance that I am sat there in front of an EQ board because yeah, I'm from all the raving that I've done, my ears are going slightly deaf. So it would yeah, it would be deafening for people. So yeah, that's really really cool. In terms of ILA, I imagine you're going to be the first protocol for a lot of people, but if they want to reach out and find you, book an appointment, where's the best place to go?
That extortionate domain name, www.ila.co.uk. There was a reason for that, ila.co.uk. So that's it. It's as easy as that. You won't forget it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for tonight. I really, really
Okay.
appreciate it. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so grateful you gave up your evening to share your story with us. We'll definitely have to get you back on, and we'll do a wrap up of the festival, and it's going to
Yeah.
be amazing. I know it is. It's going to be fantastic, and we can dissect it with you and find out how good it was, and what your favorite parts of the day were. So yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, congratulations on being our 3,000th member.
Yeah, I took a little selfie of that as well. I'll post that tomorrow. See, took a little selfie of me in the
There you go.
3000 little. I love that you prepared that earlier. That was great. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love sharing. I love sharing like this. I said I love sharing really openly. I try and really share like the figures, the facts, the all of it. So if anyone's got any questions, you can also connect with me on Instagram. I'm on there quite a lot. Anastasia.Anthea. So Anastasia is Anastasia, which is in the poster, and then Anthea's Anthea. So find me on there and message me. Just drop me a message if you need a personal chat about anything to do business stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, we've really really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm going to be watching your story very very closely because there's so much. Every time I speak to you, I learn so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it's yeah, it's really really good for me to see the best people in the industry doing well. So yeah, very inspired and very grateful. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next week where we'll be back with Paul Stapleton, who's going to be sharing his property sourcing secrets. So if you want details for that, you can get them in the UK Homes Network app. But please keep posting, sharing, and supporting each other. And yeah, we'll catch you very, very soon. Hopefully, we'll see you guys in Manchester and then in the festival.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
Cheers.